Run! Don't look back! The moment the old coach pulled himself over the wall, a flashlight beam hit the back of his neck. Shouts tore through the alley. Get caught, and it was over. But here's the thing. Just hours earlier, these people had been standing on a world championship podium, North Korea's national track team. They'd stood at attention. While their anthem played, gold medals around their necks.
Applause?
They were heroes. And those same 8 people, that very night, left their medals behind in their rooms and went over a wall on the night they reached the top of the world. So what drove them over their own country's wall? The answer was hidden in a single worn photograph. One an old coach guarded with his life. A photo with faces scratched out, gouged white with a nail. He got all 8 of those kids over the wall that night. What it cost him, he wouldn't find out until later. Let me tell you that story now, through the coach's eyes. Before we begin, take a second to subscribe and hit like. And once you've watched to the end, if this story stays with you, leave a comment, even just a line. All right, let's begin.
My name is Ri Chol Jin. That year, I was 47. I was the one who was supposed to protect those kids. Coach of the North Korean national track team. The kids called me teacher, and I raised them like my own. We ran together before dawn. We bandaged each other's torn feet. We got through hungry nights side by side. But let me make a shameful confession. For a long, long time, I was the coward who looked away when children vanished right in front of me.
When a student who didn't perform got quietly erased from the roster,
I turned my head. I asked nothing. Where did they go? Are they even alive? I never once said those words out loud. Why? Because I had to survive too. The momento I asked, I'd be in danger too. That's the kind of man I was. A man who stayed alive by staying silent. Do you know the hardest thing for a person to carry? I think it's guilt. Not doing wrong, but knowing something is wrong. Doing nothing anyway. That helplessness eats you from the inside. For nearly 20 years, I carried it.
the story I'm about to tell you is the one time in my whole life
I decided not to look away. And for that single night, I lost the thing most precious to me. But I don't regret it. Let me tell you why from the very beginning.
I was an athlete once, too.
Long-distance runner.
On the tracks of Pyongyang, I dreamed of becoming a hero for my country. My legs would shake so hard after the 10,000 meters
That I'd collapse, and I still loved that. Track. Right up until my knee gave out. 29 years old. A winter training session. And my knee was finished. When I couldn't run anymore, I became a coach. Now, in a country like yours, sport is a dream, a hobby, a challenge.
something you do because you love it.
Some of you run marathons along the river on weekends, just for fun. But where I lived, sport was the price of your life. Win a medal, and the rations come. Your family eats. Sometimes, even get a better home. Miss the medal, and you go for re-education. Some people came back. Some never did.
For us, a competition wasn't sport.
It was survival. Most of the kids on our team,
Came from the provinces.
they knew hunger in their bones. Kids who started running because they were starving.
Kids who had no way out of poverty, except their own 2 legs.
Chongmi was one of them. 19 years old. The Ase of our team. A girl from a mountain village up in Hamgyong, Provincia. When she first joined, she had no running shoes. She ran in worn-out rubber slippers.
Running across frozen winter ground in nothing but rubber slippers. Her feet split open and bled, and she gritted her teeth and kept running. Why? Because when she ran, her parents and little brother back in that mountain village got their rations. the lives of an entire family, hung on a 19-year-old's two legs. I watched her run like that, and I took off the shoes on my own feet and gave them to her. They were old, but they beat rubber slippers. She took them, looked up at me, and smiled.
Teacher, these are really for me?
I can still hear it. Her eyes went wide when she asked. After that day, she followed me like I was her own father. The truth is, I had a daughter, Gu, my own girl left behind in the north, about Jongmi's age. She'd shot up while I was away at competitions, gone from home. So every time I looked at Jongmi, I saw my daughter. When I petted Jongmi said, it felt like patting my own child's. Have you ever tried to picture the nights up there? When the sun goes down, the whole city goes black. No electricity. Look out the window and there's nothing but dark. Now and then a few lights in the neighborhoods. Where the officials lived, that was all. At the market, people lined up before dawn just to buy a few kernels of corn. In winter, hands and feet cracked from the cold. And the training floor was like a sheet de ice. The kids' knuckles were always split and crusted with blood. That was the world we lived in. And still, we laughed. After training, we'd sit in a circle and share one bowl of corn, porridge, and laugh. Jongmi would tell some silly story, and we'd all double over. Laughing was the only thing we had. I wanted to protect those laughs. Back then, I thought I could. I never imagined they'd break so easily. It was spring that year. We were getting ready for a summer competition abroad. The kids' times were good. The mood was good. Then, one day, an older athlete who'd missed a medal at the last competition suddenly disappeared from the roster. A boy named Chang-Su. A good kid. Hard-working. He stopped showing up to training. He wasn't in the dorm. At first, I thought he was sick. But a day passed, then two, and he didn't come back. And here's the strange part. Nobody said his name. Not one person, like he'd never existed at all. When I carefully asked another coach about Chang-Su, he grabbed my arm and said it low. Coach Ri, you don't ask about things like that. You'll put yourself in danger too. That look in his eyes told me everything. Chang-Su had been erased. That night, I went back to my room and pulled out the team photo I kept hidden under my shoe insole. The corners were worn soft from all the years. I'd carried it, and I picked up a nail. The face of someone who was gone had to be erased. Those were the rules. Keep it, and I'd be in danger just for having the photo. He kept a picture of himself with a traitor. That one sentence was enough to make me disappear like Chang-Su. That was the law up there. So that night, with my own hand, I scratched Chang-Su's face away. I set the nail against that smiling boy's face.
That sound the nail made digging
into the paper. I still remember it. My hand shook. I felt the tears coming, but I clenched my jaw and kept scraping until his smile went white and vanished. And then, looking down at the finished photo, my skin went cold all over because there were already 4 other faces scratched out just like that. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Counting Chang-Su. Every one of them my student. Kids I'd taught, kids I'd fed, kids I'd held. I had erased
Every one of those faces with my own hand.
some of them I could barely even remember anymore. That's when it hit me. This wasn't a team photo. This was a gravestone for all the years I'd spent looking away. 5 gravestones. And I was the man who laid them under my own feet and walked over them every single day. That night, I held the photo to my chest and cried for a long time. With the competition almost here, a shadow attached itself to our team. A man they called Supervisor O. He wasn't an athlete. He wasn't a coach. His job was one thing: to watch us 24 hours a day, so none of us ran while we were abroad. He always stood a little apart, watching. During training,
During meals, even at night, he stood in the hallway while we slept.
a man with no expression. When he looked at us, it wasn't the way you look at people. It was the way you count objects.
1, 2, 3, 8. Anybody run off? That was the only thing his eyes checked. One day he pulled me aside, and without a smile he said,
Coach Ree, you know what happens if the team doesn't produce. This time, right? The whole team pays, starting with you, the coach.
The whole team. I knew what those words weighed. Sweat ran down my back. It wasn't a threat. It was a forecast. And a few days later, I heard something worse. Chang-su, the boy who'd vanished. He wasn't the only one who was gone. His elderly parents, his little sister, barely 10 years old. The whole family gone, without a trace. Guilt by association. Up there,
one person's crime drags the entire family down with them. And in that moment, my spine froze, because it meant this wasn't one person's problem. If the results slipped even a little, who was next? Next was Jung-mi. Next were her parents and her little brother.
In that mountain village,
Next were all 8 of our kids, and every one of their families. The girl I'd put shoes on with my own hands could be erased by my own hands. I didn't sleep at all that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Jung-mi's face going white under the nail dragging across her smile. I shuddered in the dark over and over. Pull the blanket over my head, and the vision wouldn't leave. If we went to that competition and the kids missed their medals, I might have to erase their faces with my own hand again. Just the thought of it, and I couldn't breathe. Something inside me was starting to come apart. Our first night abroad, a strange city, a strange dorm. Out the window, a city I'd never seen before. I stood at the glass and stared at the lights for a long time. Lights we never had in our city. Lights that didn't go out even deep in the night. People walking the streets, laughing. Every shop lit up bright. To those people, those lights were just normal. But to me, one of those ordinary lights looked like another world. Looking at them, I heard myself say it out loud.
This time, I'm not erasing anyone. It wasn't politics. I don't know the big words, ideology, systems, any of that.
I'm just an old washed-up
Runner with a bad knee. All I wanted was to save my kids. Just once, I wanted to set down the nail. Just once, I wanted to be a grown man who didn't look away with these hands that built 5 gravestones. Just this once, I wanted to save them. I gripped my 2 shaking hands together. I was afraid. If we got caught, I knew exactly what would happen. To me, to the 8 kids, and to their families. But do nothing, and they'd be erased sooner or later anyway. So walk toward the side
where there's even a sliver of a chance to live. If this was the last thing an old coach
could ever do, then I do it. I made up my mind that night. And that decision changed everything. For me and for those 8 kids. Alone, it was impossible. There were too many eyes.
And I didn't know this strange country's roads or its language. No map, no idea which way to go.
That's when a hand quietly reached out to me. Park.
An ethnic Korean from China sent as an interpreter for the competition. A man past 50 with gentle eyes. On the surface, he was an interpreter, but his real work was moving people across borders. I can't tell you everything about how I came to trust him. I'll just say he watched me for a few days, and then he came to me first. One night, in a very low voice, he whispered,
Coach Ree,
"The last day of the competition, after the medal ceremony, 3 hours, that's when they watch you the loosest. The athletes let their guard down. The supervisors have a drink and get careless. In those 3 hours, you get to the embassy. I'll open the road. I'll have the car, the people, everything ready. Your job is to keep those kids quiet. One of them panics and talks, and everybody dies. Do you know why he'd risk his own life? He knew perfectly well that if we got caught, he'd be finished first." I asked him, "Why would you go this far? If we get caught, you won't walk away either." He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "I crossed that river myself once. Middle of winter, the ice broke, and I went under. I thought I was dead, and someone reached out and pulled me up. A stranger. Never even saw his face. Without that hand, I'd still be at the bottom of that river. That's when I decided someday I'd be that hand for someone else.
Coach Ree,
This time it's my turn to be the hand." That closed my throat. However cruel the world gets, people like this still exist. I said nothing and took his hand. It was rough and it was warm. I couldn't tell the kids the real reason. I was afraid it would show on their faces, afraid someone might overhear. One wobble out of 8 and everyone dies. So all I told them was this: when the ceremony's over, trust me and follow me. Whatever happens, do not look back. Whatever you hear, just look straight ahead and run. Understand? The kids nodded. No idea what was going on. Something in them must have sensed how serious it was. No one asked a single question back. Those clear, trusting eyes pressed down on me harder than anything. I have to protect those eyes. I swore it to myself again and again. That night, the youngest slipped over to me. Just 17, the baby of the team. She pressed something small into my hand. An old butterfly hairpin, the color all worn off.
Teacher, if something ever happens to me, please get this to my mother. She bought it for me when I was little. Whenever I miss her, I hold it.
Her eyes were wet.
I couldn't say a word. I just pushed the pin deep into my pocket. I had no idea that little pin
Would one day drive such a nail into my own heart. Finally, the last day of the competition, the ceremony ended. Medals shone on the kids' chests. People clapped for us. Even Supervisor O clapped, satisfied. They'd produced, and so he felt safe. And that ease, that was our one.
and only chance.
I caught the kids' eyes. This was it. We skipped the elevator and took the emergency stairs. No way to know where an elevator stops or who gets on. One floor, then the next. We killed our footsteps. Even our breathing sounded loud. The kids' faces had gone white. And then, on the 3rd floor, the stairwell door flew open, Supervisor O. In one motion, I threw my arm out and pushed the kids back into the shadow behind the wall. We pressed our backs flat and held our breath. My heart slammed. I was sure he could hear it. He stood on the landing, looking around. I heard him pull out a cigarette. His footsteps came toward us. 1 step 2. Jongmi grabbed my arm hard. I squeezed my eyes shut. And then he stopped and turned back the other way. He'd gone outside to light it. The door closed. Only then did I let out the breath I'd been holding. My back was soaked through.
That was close.
That was so close to being the end. Right there. We slipped out the back door. The night air was cool. At the mouth of the alley, Park's beat-up van sat with the engine running. We piled in fast. The van pulled out. City lights streaked past the windows. We made it. We made it. Just get to the embassy. That's what I was thinking in that exact moment. Park's face went hard. His eyes flicked to the mirror. I turned and looked back too. A black car riding right on our bumper. A surveillance car. When had they caught on? The air in the van turned to ice. Not gonna work. Get out and scatter run. Into the alleys. The embassy's the way I told you. Park shouted. He jerked the van to the curb. We threw the doors open before it even stopped and jumped. Into a narrow alley in every direction. That's when it happened. Behind me, a thud and a scream. Jongmi went down. She caught her foot on a stone in the dark alley, tore her knee open, and hit the ground. The group broke apart. I stopped and turned. The others were already running ahead. I went back and hauled her up. Jongmi, get up, run, don't stop, don't look back. Blood ran from her knee. She was crying from the pain, but she took my hand, gritted her teeth, and started running again. Behind us, the footsteps were getting closer. Several sets of them. I didn't let go of her hand. How many alleys did we turn down? Finally, up ahead, the embassy wall. The other kids were already at the base of it. Get over that wall and we live. The other side of that wall is another country's ground. They can't just come in. But the iron gate was locked. We shook it, and it wouldn't open. Behind us, a shout, "Stop right there!" A flashlight swept the alley, coming closer. The footsteps grew. There was no time. Seconds, we had seconds. No time to think. I started shoving the kids up over the wall.
One by one.
Jongmi first, with her hurt knee. It took twice the effort.
Then the youngest.
Then one more.
And one more.
Go, over, don't look back. I pulled up strength I didn't have. My old arms trembled. My shoulders felt like they'd ripped loose. 111 all 8 up and over. And now only I was left. But the footsteps were already right at my back. The flashlight lit up my spine. Stop right there. I grabbed the wall and tried to climb, but there was no strength left in these old arms. The wall was high, and I kept sliding back. So this is as far as I go. I got the kids over. That's enough. That thought was passing through me.
And right then,
from inside, the iron gate rattled open. A stranger's hand shot out through the gap. I found out later a South Korean reporter had been waiting outside the wall, hoping to cover us, saw how desperate it was, and rushed to pull the embassy staff out. That hand dragged the kids who'd gone over inside. And through the open gate, it reached out for me too. Hurry, grab my hand. I grabbed it. Someone pulled with everything they had. I felt someone snatch at the back of my clothes. I threw my body forward. With everything left in me, my foot crossed the threshold, and the gate slammed shut. Right behind it, fists pounded the iron gate, shouting. But the gate didn't open, it couldn't. Because we were on safe ground now. With that one gate between us, hell and life split apart. 8 kids, and this old man too. We all just dropped to the ground. Where we stood,
no one could speak. Only the sound of our ragged breathing filled the yard. Then Jongmi started to sob first. Her shoulders shook. And then the youngest cried. And one by one, the kids grabbed onto each other and wept.
Everything they'd held in came out all at once.
I sat there on the ground and looked up at the sky. A strange country sky. A strange night. And the stars, I'd never seen them so bright.
In a shaking voice, I managed one thing.
We made it. We made it. I didn't erase anyone. After a lot of paperwork and a long wait,
we finally set foot on South Korean soil.
Stepping off the plane
into Incheon Airport for the first time, I just stood there, overwhelmed by how vast
and bright it all was. I went into a restroom, and it was so clean, the water rushing out of the tap. Even bad. Little thing brought tears. Clean water. Do you know how precious that was to us? I'll never forget my first night in South Korea. I walked into a place
called a convenience store for the first time.
And in the middle of the night, the store was bright as day. They don't turn the lights off at night? Where I come from, you couldn't even imagine it. For us, night was just darkness. Here, the world stayed lit even after dark. The shelves were stacked with food like a mountain. Bread, milk, snacks I couldn't name, overflowing. And you could buy it anytime you wanted. We were people who lined up for hours.
Before dawn, just for a few kernels of corn,
I stood in front of that light. And all that food, and I couldn't move.
The tears just kept coming. Jongmi went to a hospital. The knee she'd hurt in the alley. The night we escaped got infected. She couldn't even walk, and my heart dropped. Thinking about the money, where we came from. If you had no money, you just lay there sick until you died. A hospital was too high a door for people like us. But the doctor here told me, the insurance covers it, sir. Don't worry, get her treated, and she'll be fine soon. A country where no child dies for lack of money. A country where you can get treated, even when you're poor. I turned those words over and over. watching a clean bandage. Go around Jungmi's knee, I cried again. And there's one moment I'll never forget above all. Someone helping us resettle bowed to me deeply and said, "Sir, you've been through so much. Rest easy from now on." Sir, not comrade, sir. Up there, comrade was the word for everyone here. A man doing the country's work bowed, his head to an old man like me, and he bowed to me. Up there, we were always the ones who had to bow. In front of officials, in front of supervisors. Always bent at the waist. Here, a man doing government work lowered his head first. To an old nobody like me, that one word closed my throat, and I couldn't say a thing. I could only bow back. A city that stays bright at night, food overflowing. A hospital that saves you even with no money. Clean water pouring from the tap. And a world that calls a man sir instead of comrade. And only then did I finally understand. This is a place where a person gets to live like a person. This is the place we risked our lives to cross into. The things we'd lost were things this ordinary. Only then did I understand how precious every plain little light on this land really is. Remember, at the very start, I told you about a photograph hidden under the insole of my running shoe, and the faces inside it, scratched out with a nail. Now let me tell you the secret of that photo. The 5 people with their faces gouged white, Chung Su and the rest, they were all my old students. Gone for the single reason that they hadn't produced. And the one who erased their faces was none other than me. To survive, I wiped out the faces of children I loved with my own hands. That sin pressed on my chest for nearly 20 years. And it was that very guilt that made me different this time. This time, I won't erase a single one. To keep that one promise, I took 8 kids over that wall. That's the real reason. We vanished the night we won. It wasn't the glory on the podium. It was those erased faces in the photo that pushed me over the wall. But freedom had a price, a very high one. Not long after we settled in South Korea, word reached me. And when I heard it, I collapsed where I stood. The family I'd left behind in the north, my wife, and my own daughter, the one about Jungmi's age, had been taken away. My escape and the family left. Behind paid the price for it. While I saved 8 of someone else's children, my own daughter, I couldn't protect. I was sick for days. I couldn't get food down. That night, I spread the old photo out on the floor and sat with it a long time. And I picked up a pen, this time not to erase, to draw. Beside the 5 erased faces, I began to draw in the faces of the 8 kids who'd survived, one by one. Jungmi, the youngest, and the other 6. My hand shook, so the lines kept going crooked. Tears fell on the paper and smeared the faces I'd drawn. These 8, at least, I didn't erase. This time, at least, I kept them. I said it over and over to that photo, to the old students I'd erased, and to my daughter who was taken.
I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry. But there was still that butterfly hairpin in my hand, the one the youngest pressed on me. Please get this to my mother, thank God. She made it across safely with me. She's alive right here beside me now. But her mother stayed in the north, so I never could deliver that pin. It's still in my drawer. Sometimes I take it out and hold it, and I see the youngest wet eyes looking up at me that night. Someday when reunification comes, when that wall falls, when that day comes, I'll take this pin and find the youngest mother. Your daughter grew up so well, I'll say, and I'll put this pin back in her hand. Until that day, I won't lose this pin. That's part of why I'm still living. Some years have passed since then. Jungmi is a proper university student now. The girl who came in rubber slippers now picks out her own running shoes. The youngest runs the track again, this time not for the price of her life, but purely for her own dream. The kind of running where you fall, you get back up, and that's all it is.
On the holidays,
The kids come find me and call out, "Teacher!" We sit in a circle and eat together. Not corn porridge, now warm rice. Every time I hear that sound, see that table, I think of those erased faces in the photo, and I quietly smile. And I think of the daughter I left behind, and I quietly cry. The laughing and the tears always come together. Just like that.
to the older folks,
If you're a generation that lived through that winter of the Korean War, with your whole body, you'll understand this old father's heart. The ache of longing for family you were torn from. The sorrow for the ones you couldn't protect. That's a weight that never fades. No matter how many years pass one you carry your whole life. If you ever lost your grip on a loved one's hand on a refugee road back then, you'll understand this heart better than anyone. I carry that weight, and I live out another day. Even at this very moment, someone is running toward freedom, with a single wall between them and it. With a single river between them, someone is longing for the family. They were torn from wading into ice-cold water,
They're risking their lives.
just like I did someday when that wall falls. When that river is joined by a bridge, when families torn apart clasp hands again, I pray for that day to come every single night with my hands pressed together. When it comes, I won't need to draw erased faces back in anymore. And this butterfly hairpin will finally go back to its owner. And I'll get to hold my daughter again. Thank you, truly, for staying with this long story all the way to the end. If today's story stayed with you, even a little, leave a comment, even just a short one. That one line from you is a greater comfort than anything in the world. To people like me, and just by remembering a story like this together, we stop being alone. I'll see you again in the next story. Please stay healthy.
And be at peace.
Thank you.